The brain rewards system, that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. And I want to talk about it because understanding it and knowing what it does or how it works can benefit you on your trading journey, can benefit you, I think in more ways in life, but tonight, of course, I will be also zooming into the trading, day trading, investing, etc. So if we look at our brains have evolved over millennia, honed by the relentless demands of survival. And at the core of this journey, there's a fundamental principle of either pain avoidance and, on the other hand, pleasure seeking. And in the wild, where every day, and I'm talking about millions of years back, or not millions, but before we were the persons or the human beings we are today, every day we were presented with potential threats, and the ability to swiftly identify and evade danger was paramount. Thus, there were neural circuits responsible for detecting and responding to pain. And this part of potential threat avoidance and came deeply ingrained in our biological makeup. One key player, I think the most important part in your brain, is the amygdala, which is an almond-shaped cluster deep within the brain, and it acts as a sentinel, constantly scanning the environment for potential threats, and also orchestrating rapid responses to ensure our survival. So when our ancestors were faced with danger, the amygdala would trigger release of stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, and preparing the body for a flight or fight response. Most of you will have heard of this. It is a part of the bodies. It's an automatic survival mechanism. That's what it's called. It's happened without having control over it, and it prepares us to either confront the threat we face, fight, or escape from it, flight. Now, there's always also the freeze response, which is another component of the stress response system. Usually you'll hear people say, well, I fight or flight, or sometimes you'll freeze. And it's in situations when neither fighting nor fleeing seems effective or appropriate, you may enter a state of immobility or a freeze, like becoming still, tense, or unresponsive. The freeze response is thought to be an evolutionary adaptation that might enhance survival in certain circumstances, such as when a threat may not notice an immobile target. I think with some wild animals, if you encounter them in the wild, you should stay still, make yourself small, instead of fleeing or fighting, which doesn't have the best outcomes. But why am I telling you this? If we fast forward it to today, I'm talking in this in this session, and the threats that were once predators are now evolved, if I'm talking about trading, to market pullbacks, seeing your portfolio being red or even green, stop losses, FOMO, and all the other shit you can come up that can pose a threat. And all of this happens whilst our brains are still retaining that ancient wiring. And especially in the realm of our crypto journey, this translates into a profound impact on decision making. The fear of either financial loss, akin to the fear of a lurking predator, can activate the amygdala, setting off a cascade of psychological and physiological responses. I want you to consider this scenario where you face a potential loss, like either with day trading, you're in a trade and you are facing a potential loss, or with spots being in the red. The amygdala detects this perceived threat and may prompt a surge of stress hormones. It's just what happens in your body. And this could lead to a heightened state of anxiety. And in response, you might succumb to this instinct to avoid the perceived pain, the pain of the loss, and making impulsive decisions. So you won't act rational, you're going to become impulsive, and you are going to, for example, prematurely close your trades because they're in the red. You're going to panic sell your spot bags. You refrain from necessary risk taking. You add to your losing trade, while in that way you are, if you add to your losing trade, you won't have to go to the pain of a realized loss yet, because you're still in a trade hoping that the market might turn around and the threat of the pain might vanish. So that's the pain avoidance system. But on the other hand, our brains are also equipped with a powerful reward system. And that's where the neurotransmitter dopamine takes center stage. This system, often referred to as the brain's pleasure center, is activated when we experience rewards and positive outcomes. In the context of trading, it could be winning trades or big profit trades, can trigger the release of dopamine, creating a pleasurable sensation and reinforcing the behavior that led to the reward. So it will let you mimic what you did before, so you can go through that same situation again. So imagine a trader who executes a well-researched strategy which results in a profitable trade. Now, that surge of dopamine not only induces a sense of pleasure, but it also forms an association between that successful strategy and the reward. And over time, this, how you say, neurological feedback loop can influence the trader to replicate this similar pattern, and it can contribute to a cycle of informed decision making and positive outcomes. But there is a risk to this association, because imagine yourself and you're trading with a strategy or a trading framework, as we try to teach you. You're still new to this game. And let's say you have that strategy and that framework, and you experience a series of successful trades, each resulting in a good or a significant big win. With each win, the brain's reward system, fueled by that dopamine, reinforces your behavior. So the pleasure associated with making money in the market suddenly becomes a powerful motivator. So as a consequence, you might be driven to seek out more opportunities for trading, fueled again by that desire for that pleasurable dopamine release associated with the successful trades you had. But the downside to this is that it can lead to overtrading, a situation where you engage in excessive shorting, longing, higher than usual leverage, abandoning your original strategy or risk management plan. And maybe this sounds familiar to some of you. I call this, or let's call this from now on, the dopamine-driven cycle of overtrading. And I'm going to take you through this cycle because it starts with the initial success. You have executed some trades with a risk management system, with a strategy, and it yields you a substantial profit, which triggers that surge of dopamine. The next step is you're going to seek for more pleasure. And that pleasure is in trades, because your trades give you pleasure, give you dopamine. So driven by that pleasurable feeling associated with success, you seek more trading opportunities because you want to replicate that experience. What happens then is that overtrading begins because you have a desire. You want the desire for more dopamine release, and it leads to frequent and impulsive trades instead of trades based on a system, based on patience. So you will deviate or possibly deviate from your well thought out strategy. Eventually, that overtrading can lead to diminished returns, because as you overtrade, the frequency of successful outcomes might decline, leading to smaller profits or even losses. And if that happens, the next step is chasing losses, because you're faced with these diminished returns, and you, who now is accustomed to that dopamine-driven pleasure of success, you become increasingly desperate to regain that feeling, and eventually leading to chasing losses. And at the end, these losses accumulate. So that cycle of overtrading and chasing losses results in a significant downturn in the overall profits, eroding the gains you made during the initial successful trades. And even go that far, I could I want to say that it maybe will take you to a point of liquidation for some people. So in this example that I just gave you, this cycle, dopamine-driven cycle of overtrading, even though the initial successes were driven by informed decisions and a well thought out and executed strategy, the dopamine-driven pursuit of pleasure can ultimately lead to failure when you don't have that in check. So the emotional highs associated with success, it can cloud judgment, causing you to deviate from that risk management we talk about constantly and overlook potential risks. And in regards to this, I think it's also important to be aware of cognitive bias. Cognitive bias refers to systematic patterns of deviation from norm or rationality in judgment, often leading to perceptual distortion, inaccurate interpretation, or illogical interpretation, or what is broadly called irrationality. And these biases are often a result of mental shortcuts, which are called heuristics, and the brain uses these shortcuts to make decisions quickly, because that's the easiest thing to do. Just make a quick decision. We want to get quick, rich, etc. So we always look for shortcuts. That's how our brain is wired. In trading, you can see different kind of biases that can cloud your judgment or set you up to make the wrong decisions. A couple of them I want to just talk short about. One is confirmation bias. You may be inclined as a trader to seek information that aligns with your existing beliefs about a trade you took, and potentially overlooking contrary signals. So let's say you're in a long, you are long biased, so you won't, or your brain will try to avoid pain. And what is avoiding pain? Losing a trade is avoiding pain. So what your brain subconsciously does is make you overlook the contrary signals, like a double top, or for example a support and resistance zone. You are just so focused on your confirmation bias that you are long and that the market is going up. So you will be looking for confirmation of your long thought. Then there is overconfidence bias, which is believing too strongly in one's ability to predict the market. Let's say you had 4 or 5 wins with your thought up strategy or your thought out strategy. You will get overconfident and you're going to too strong believe that you can predict the market movements, which you can't, and can lead to excessive risk taking and inadequate risk management. Then there is hindsight bias, which is reflecting on past trades with the benefit of hindsight. May lead you to overestimate your ability to predict market trends, because that's why it's better to live test a strategy instead of just testing it with old charts, because it's easier to look at an old chart, and in hindsight trading always goes well. Then the last one is loss aversion, and loss aversion is the fear of losses, which can result in holding on to positions too long, losing positions, so not cutting losses too soon, not cutting losses early, or avoiding necessary risk taking that could lead to gains. There's a reason why some people don't use a stop loss when they start out, because a stop loss means that there is a point that I know of now. There is a point when price will hit stop loss and I end my trade in a loss. And for everything, I want to avoid losses, so I don't use a stop loss. Lastly, I want to talk about the struggle between short-term gains and long-term objectives. There's a lot of people coming into crypto, coming into this Discord, enticed by the allure of quick profits, the thought of getting rich quick overnight. I want to put in 100 tonight, and tomorrow that 100 becomes 1,000, and go on and go on. This desire for immediate pleasure prompts impulsive decision making. So it will make you make decisions based on your impulses, on your from emotions, and potentially jeopardizing long-term financial goals. So I think you won't be the first to sacrifice a spot back that hasn't pumped for one that already did, only to see the one you just sold take off. This is what happens a lot. People are impatient. They don't want to wait, let's say for Red Fox right now. Let it go sideways for as long so we can accumulate and be patient. And if you see other coins take off, we might feel the urge to sell that hold that hasn't pumped yet, to jump on the train from a coin that is pumping. But if it's already pumping, you are too late. And then you rotate your capital there into another coin, and that coin takes off. But yeah, these things happen. But the only thing you need to do to succeed in this game is to practice the concept of delayed gratification. Delayed gratification refers to the ability to resist the temptation of an immediate reward in favor of a larger or more enduring reward that will be obtained after some delay or waiting period. And in this case, hold your goddamn spot bags, sit on your hands, wait it out for 12, 18 months and reap the rewards. But it involves exercising self-control and patience to forego short-term pleasures or benefits in order to achieve more significant and longer-term goals. So don't focus on future trades, but focus on your spot bags. So you have to prioritize strategic patience over impulsive actions, understanding that enduring short-term discomfort, being in the red, may lead to more significant rewards in the future. So hold on to those bags you have built, endure the pullbacks, enjoy the red, buy more in the red, and reap the reward of your patience in the next 12 to 18 months. Because as the saying goes, time in the market beats timing the market over and over and over and over again. Thanks for listening, everyone. Please share your questions, thoughts, or insights if you want.